Again, that's being asked, given the numbers, Nitish Kumar is sitting on a measly 45 seats, RJD has 79, BJP has 77, and once bitten, twice shy, as they say. Why should RJD support or agree to support Nitish Kumar as Chief Minister yet again? And we are given to understand that while Lalu may have his sympathies or soft corner, Tejashwi Yadav may not be that inclined to supporting Chief Minister Nitish Kumar as Chief Minister. So why should we believe that we are going to see the Mahagathbandhan all over again in 2022 if Nitish so decides to pull the plug on the BJP?
Zaka, that's exactly, it tells you it's a very telling commentary on the opposition also. The opposition is so desperate, they have such a huge sense of despondency that if anything happens, any kind of forward movement in their scheme of things, and they are game. Even if they can become, some people can, 2 members or 3 members from the Congress party can become minister. Sonia Gandhi would say, go ahead, and, RJD would join in, just thinking that something will happen in 2024. And where NDA or Narendra Modi can be weakened. In Nitish Kumar, many people outside NDA think that they would have a kind of prime ministerial candidate. It's too premature, it's too early, and it's of course a very kind of beaten story. At the same time, if you look at Biju Janata Dal, Jagan Mohan Reddy's party, KCR, and several other formations, they would show some degree of interest. And not to forget, of course, this Mamata Banerjee Congress left, and Aam Aadmi Party and Congress and TMC left. So all these things are given there. It's quite a wide bowler. I think Nitish Kumar is living up to his reputation. What's being said about Paltu Ram, he can take, he can switch sides, and switch sides in a convincing manner. There are always some takers for him. And this is something which is very intriguing.
I think it was Lalu himself, and I'll ask Arun Anand this, Lalu himself who coined this slogan, "Aisa koi saga nahi jisko Nitish ne thaga nahi," meaning he doesn't have anyone who is close to him who he has not pulled the legs off. So my question is then, when ultimately he has to go back to the people, whether it's in 2024 Lok Sabha or 2025 Vidhan Sabha, how will Nitish Kumar justify this before the people? Because the people are going to say, this is just opportunism. Not once or twice. If he does it in 2022, it will be 3 times in the last 8 years.
Zaka, I think, one, there is no immediate threat to the Mahagathbandhan, the alliance which the Janata Dal-U and BJP has. Of course, there has always been an unease in relationship, and that has been there right since the beginning between Nitish Kumar and the BJP, because the style of politics and to a large extent the content of the politics is also quite different. So that unease will always be there. But Nitish has experimented with another partner, and Nitish has realized that there is no other way out if he wants to remain in power. Now, as far as this latest crisis is concerned, my take is slightly different. I think if you look at the larger picture, it has more to do with the dynamics of parties in India which are driven by individuals, or which are very individual centric, bereft of any ideology and a proper, ideological framework. The same thing is, and then these parties start imploding. These are the internal power dynamics and the internal power struggles of these such parties, which are individual based. You have seen that happening in Maharashtra. You have seen that happening, the fissures in the Samajwadi Party. Now you are seeing this in JDU also. So it largely has to do with that, basically.
Okay. डॉक्टर नंदन, मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूँगा कि नीतीश कुमार का एक सबसे बड़ा यूएसपी था लॉ एंड ऑर्डर, लेकिन हमने पिछले 6, 7, 10 महीने में ये देखा है कि बिहार में, चाहे वो अग्निपथ के मामले में हो या प्राइस राइज के मामले में हो, या हाल ही में जो टेरर रेड्स जो चल रहे थे एनआईए के द्वारा, इन सब चीज़ों में एक चीज़ साफ नज़र आ रही थी कि ये जो लॉ एंड ऑर्डर का प्लैंक है, ये तो मतलब खराब स्थिति में है. क्या ये एक डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन बन गया था बीजेपी और जेडीयू के बीच में, और इसकी वजह से नीतीश कुमार नाराज है?
देखिए, उन कुछ बातों पर मैं प्रकाश डाल देना चाहता हूं. जब आप कोलिशन गवर्नमेंट में हैं, जब आप गठबंधन की सरकार में हैं, तो फिर कुछ उसके मापदंड होते हैं. अब आप गठबंधन की सरकार में हैं और उसी प्रदेश में आकर आप यह अनाउंस कर रहे हैं कि अगले कुछ वर्षों में जो क्षेत्रीय दल हैं वह खत्म हो जाएंगे, तो यह थोड़ा जो क्षेत्रीय दल हैं, जो गठबंधन के साथ दल हैं, उनको अच्छा नहीं लगता है। तो एक बात ये हो गई। दूसरा, अभी मैं सुन रहा था प्रोफेसर संजय कुमार जी का कि आप अनाउंस करते हैं कि हम 200 सीटों पर लड़ेंगे। जहां गठबंधन होता है वहां पर कुछ डिस्कशन करके कोई भी बात कही जाती है। मानवर नीतीश कुमार जी ने जब गठबंधन धर्म का पालन किया, अभी हो रहा था कि बीजेपी के मंत्रियों की संख्या ज्यादा, भाई उनकी संख्या जब सीट ज्यादा है तो संख्या उनकी स्वाभाविक रूप से ज्यादा होगी। कभी भी नीतीश कुमार जी ने कोलिशन गवर्नमेंट में कभी भी कुछ ऐसा नहीं किया जिससे कि जो गठबंधन वाला दल है,
लेकिन डॉक्टर नंदन ये बताइए, मेरा सवाल ये है कि 4 मीटिंग पिछले 2-3 हफ्तों में 4 मीटिंग जो है उन्होंने कैंसिल कर दी या नहीं आए। वो ठीक है, वो उनकी मर्जी है, आना चाहेंगे तो आएंगे, अगर नहीं चाहते हैं तो नहीं आएंगे। लेकिन जिस दिन नीति आयोग का मीटिंग चल रहा था उसी दिन सोनिया गांधी के साथ फोन पे बातचीत करना, क्या ये पॉलिटिकल सिग्नलिंग नहीं है?
अब ये कोई प्रमाण नहीं है कि उनकी बात सोनिया गांधी से हुई है कि नहीं हुई है, ये हमें नहीं पता है।
नहीं, ये तो हमें पता है। नहीं, हमें पता है। हम बता रहे हैं।
हमें पता नहीं है। लेकिन जो पॉलिटिकल, जब गठबंधन की सरकार चलती है तो पॉलिटिकल कॉज को देखना पड़ता है। पॉलिटिकल कॉज में जो गठबंधन वाले दल हैं उनको बड़ा एहतियात बरतना पड़ता है। आप ऐसी घोषणाएं न कर दें जिससे कि आपके साथी को कहीं कोई कंफ्यूजन हो जाए।
Let me ask Professor Sanjay Kumar, I'll give him the final word. When Nitish Kumar left the NDA first time in 2013-14, it was a question of leadership of Narendra Modi. He couldn't accept the leadership of Narendra Modi. Come 2024, and if this happens, if indeed he goes back to RJD and to the Mahagathbandhan and to the Congress, what is the realistic chance that Nitish Kumar may be projected by the opposition as potentially one of the faces of the prime ministerial candidates, as Rashid Kidwai was saying?
No, in the past there have been a lot of discussion that Nitish Kumar could be a very good face or a person who could be selected as a consensus candidate among the opposition parties. But I think it's not going to be that easy. As we come closer, as opposition party come closer to having a discussion on who should be the face of the opposition party, who should be the face of the opposition parties, I think that is the time when the real crisis would begin. If you are discussing this issue from a distance, yes, I think people will say, people means the leaders of various opposition parties would say, yes, seems to be a good name, seems to be a good person to lead the opposition. But when it would be the real time of making a declaration, making this choice, I don't think many opposition leaders would be happy or would be willing to accept him as the face of the opposition. That's going to be the real challenge for the opposition parties.
Okay, let's see how this story plays out. A lot is going to happen in Bihar over the next few days. We'll have that covered right here on CNN News 18. Thanks very much to all our guests. I want to move on to